So hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Pro Ninja Racing's YouTube channel. My name is Anders and I'll be talking you through round 3 and round 4 in this video, or race 4, race 3, race 4 in this video. Sadly the auto director on the Wednesday night decided to play the smart card of leaving the server just as race 4 was about to begin and it couldn't rejoin. So we don't really have any footage. I will grab some from the game just to overlay what kind of happened, but we do have the full of race 3 here, which you can see is at Brands Hatch, and as you can see we only had 5 drivers for this one. So again, if you're looking for a fun little racing league, nothing too overtly serious, any skill level, whether you're beginning on AMS2 or whether you're just a long-serving sim racer, we are looking and the door is wide open. Anyone preferably from the European sort of area, only because that's where we're based, and sometimes we know that times don't always work out for people. So rather than waste anybody else's time, let's move on to the race. So as we sit on the grid, you can see 66 got pole position. Jamski slid into P2 on his final lap of qualifying. Myself, Anders, managed to get P3, Mango Banjo in P4, and then a rando, because it was still a public lobby, just like race 1. Except this time we added a minimum driving skill requirement within the game, which is a little bit harsh on people because it's a lot of servers on multiplayer don't have that feature turned on. So you may well be quite a clean racer, but because you've driven on servers that don't have it turned on, you won't gain any. So if you want to gain some, or again, just join in some nice clean racing, make sure to check us out. But sadly, just like race 1, this race was a little bit ruined by, well, I say a little bit, it was ruined by the public player M1. Sadly, with a little bit too much tapping here and there and turning cars unnecessarily, even though Brands Hatch is a very, very difficult circuit to overtake on. It's, yeah, we'll get into it once the race starts, which should be any moment now. Might just fast forward it a little bit. Oh no, I don't need to. Okay, so as you can see, the timer is 15 minutes long this time. We spoke in the Discord before the race started, and we carried out qualifying for 10 minutes instead of my ruthless 5. And you can see that 66 gets a wonderful start here. Jamski as well, also getting a great start in P2. And Anders and Connor and 1. We're keeping it fairly clean straight off the bat here on lap 1 at Brands Hatch. Just going to turn up the race volume because it is very quiet. I don't know why. It is for me. Probably because it doesn't help that I've got it on 70-odd%. So yes, as you can see, the auto director currently is watching 1 close the gap to Connor Mango Banjo, who has moved over to the Ginetta for this Wednesday. The Aston Martin not feeling too favourable for Connor, so they moved over to the Ginetta. It's brilliant in the corners, just got a very low top end speed, which a place like Brands Hatch doesn't really matter too much. It's all about the cornering and the acceleration, but this car here in the GT4 category at the minute is an absolute powerhouse. The Alpine Jamski, driven by Jamski, is, wow, it's quite the very, very weaponous combo, I have to say the least. Jamski is figuring out that Alpine week on week, drive on drive, and is becoming an absolute monster with it. 66 doing incredibly well with the stay with McLaren as Jamski's looking down the inside for a little bit of a gap into Druids. It's not going to happen on this occasion. We're directly moving back to Connor as it's quite a close, well, only, I'm going to say 6 tenths in it to 1 in P5. But as you can see, even though there's only the 5 of us, the grid is quite close still. I mean, it's only being split by 3 seconds, as I say that comment. So, all good fun so far. And we can see it's a little bit of a procession at the minute, but there are cars trying to find a bit of space, trying to figure out where they're quicker than the car ahead, where they're willing to just relax on. As the auto director is very keen to watch M1 at the minute. The battle between Jamski and 66 is getting closer. The gap between Jamski and Anders is getting forever bigger. The Audi R8 not quite able to utilise its strengths around Brands Hatch. It's not the best mid-corner car, which around Brands, especially with the undulations and the crests that it has to go over, it's not the best choice. We can see one going really deep on the brakes there into Druid's almost collecting Connor Mango Banjo, and you can just see that they're starting to ramp up the pressure here on Connor in P4. Up to the hill they go, and down the inside he tries to go. Lovely little move. Connor couldn't really do a great deal about that one, but he's got a great exit there. Coming down to the double right-hander. One is defending the line. Connor is going to go... Oh, he sticks to the outside, but gets the switcheroo done. One having to let off a hell of a lot mid-corner, and that should allow Connor to go straight on through safely. Not a great deal that one can do there. Great racing so far between the pair. As one takes a dive down the inside and just completely takes Connor out. And that's sadly one instance of not very sportsmanlike driving by one, and it was sadly not the only incident. Connor getting completely murdered in this instance. It is not very fair on Connor. I think Connor was incredibly gracious with the space that they left. Got the job done though on the retake, and as you can see, Connor's now 20 seconds behind, and it just ruins the evening. You know, it kind of puts a bad mood on people, especially when they don't get that much of a chance to actually do some sim racing. In fact, for me now, it's probably once or twice a week at the minute. Far less than I would like it to be, but that's what happens when you've got a 2-year-old, you know. So if that happens to me, I'm going to feel a bit aggrieved, and Connor is also in the same boat as myself. Only really gets two nights a week that they can truly get behind the wheel and do some dangerous sort of driving, some dangerous games in your skill level. So Connor, as you can see, is pretty much wiped out of the race, literally. And we are now watching Jamski in P2 trying to figure out how to get past 66. The McLaren looks like to be able to get great corner exit speeds, but it's just not quite got the legs. Whereas the Alpine, just look at that Alpine go. It's already really close to the rear end of 66. He's going to go for the move. 66 has left the door open, and Jamski's gone straight through. There wasn't a great deal there. 66 is looking to have another go, but Jamski's got the run. I mean, 66 didn't really defend that at all. Perhaps he just didn't expect that Alpine to have such power on what is a relatively short straight, really, here at Brands. Is it the longest one? It might well be. It might be the longest straight. And we can see the gap is slowly, well, it's steadily at 2 seconds there between 66 and Anders. But can 66 get any more work done? Oh, and 66 has run really wide there. And that's going to give Jamski a lot of breathing room now. somehow the gap came down a little bit then. I'm not quite sure how. I was going to say, there we go. Back up it goes. Thank you. So around about, well, just shy of a second for the gap to Jamski. But let's take note at what the gap was going into the last corner. And see if we can keep an eye. So here we go. He's into the last corner now. So we're talking 9 tenths if we rounded it. 9 tenths is the gap. Let's see what it is at T1, which we're not going to be able to do. Well, he gained 3 tenths. We've gone based off what one's done. He gained 3 tenths along the straight there, which is quite something, really. That Ginetta there, driven by 1. You can see Connor is now officially retired. Even though there is no damage on, I think there is kind of like underlying damage where you can get like damage to your engine name ST. I'm not entirely sure you can actually turn that off, and I'm pretty sure that was what was happening to Connor. The engine braking was kicking in and his rig started to come loose, and what I mean by that, the pedal section was starting to wobble every time we went on the brakes, because you know, low cell brakes are quite tough. It's not too difficult to pop a brake plate, shall we say, or the pedal plate. You can see that the gap between first and second is still about a second. And Anders has got 1 closing that gap, but that Ginetta is looking right at home here. Brown's hatch. On the brakes, there you go. That Ginetta carrying a lot of speed through the corner. One's looking, not able to get it done. There is a bit of a bump on the rear end there. Pushing Anders a little bit wide on the exit, but the R8 should have a bit more power. But to be fair, the Ginetta is a hell of a lot better on the brakes. And the rear end of my Audi just went. I think I was just carrying the brakes a little bit too much. It wasn't one's fault really, to be honest with you. It was a really good overtaking manoeuvre by 1 in that instance, apart from the little bump leading up to the pass, which is a little bit, you know, and it's not touring cars. If it was touring cars I would be alright about it, but it's not, it's GT racing. So, but yeah, you know, skill issue, hashtag. And yeah, that was me out of the running. But the R8 didn't feel good for me this week. Even at Monza, it didn't feel particularly homely. It's just not quite got the front end that I'm after. But that is a discussion that we can have in the comments below. If you've driven the GT4s on AMS2, let me know which one's your favourite and why. Because I am looking for a new car. I think so far I've selected the Porsche. But yeah, more than happy to maybe switch. The next rounds are at Suzuka and Spa. So, truth be told, the Alpine should just run riot this Wednesday. Should just run absolute riot. But we can see 1 is 2 seconds behind 66 here. 4 minutes left on the clock to go. That Ginetta looking rather at home here. A lot of the community is surprised that I've not picked the Ginetta this time around, because I do like my Ginettas. I do like them quite a lot. So I don't, yeah. But I just know that with some of the circuits on the calendar, because I try and stick to the same car all season, not got the legs. It's just not got the legs that I need it to have. But the auto director is currently enjoying watching 1 who missed an apex there, but because of the handling capabilities of the Ginetta, it's worked out rather well. And it's moved over 266, who's managed to catch Jamski up, in all fairness. So Jamski's had a little bit of a moment off camera. The 006 of 66 is doing their absolute damnedest right now to keep up with that Ginetta. No, not Ginetta, Alpine, sorry. Got Ginettas on the brain. But look at that Ginetta must have a cracking sector too, because that car is far too quick. in Sector 2. It is very, very fast. The guys on the brakes going downhill, that's a bit dubious, but it could be stable enough. The last place I would want to be on the brakes going down the hill in T1. So I'm not entirely sure there. I could be seeing things. But that Ginetta is carrying a hell of a lot more corner speed than the McLaren and the Alpine for that matter. So let's just keep an eye and see what happens here with one. I know that there is an incident that is coming up, because obviously I drive in these races, so I kind of have a rough memory of what happened. This happened Wednesday just gone. Now is looking planted, and again there's the bump, and it knocks 66 right off. So one is not exactly a clean driver here. There's a good thing damage isn't on, because that would have been race over for 66, and that was one of the reasons why we don't have damage on. But he's just completely taken 66 out exactly the same way that he took out Mango Banjo. So now it's down to Jamski to hold them off. They are literally on a robust punting charge, it seems. But the rule at Pretty Ninja Racing is quite a simple one. If you cause an accident, you've got to wait. Not that the people in the public don't know that, but if you ever do race with us and you cause an incident or an accident, regardless of how aggrieved you feel about the car in front, when you feel like, "Oi, karma comes in bootloads" when it happens. There we go. Couldn't have happened to a nicer driver. So, one making quite a stylish error. The back left tyre hitting the grass, causing the car to rotate quite a lot. And the race is officially over now. So Jamski is going to come up to the timing line. 10 laps done. And Jamski is going to take race 3 victory here at Brands Hatch in the PN GT4 Season 1. 1 takes P2 and just leaves immediately. 66 then instead gets P2 and Anders gets P3. See the leaderboard if we can. No, let's go back. Here we go. There we go. Right, so here is the leaderboard. This is the final standings as it would look like on the leaderboard. Jamski takes P1 with the fastest lap of the race of a 29.674. 66 takes P2, Anders takes P3, and Connor retiring 6 laps earlier in P4. Connor actually having rather steady pace there by the looks of it. It could have been quite a nice little duel there between Anders and Connor. But now it's time to talk you through race 4, which is going to happen a little bit differently. So this is what happened at race 4. We can see here we've got our qualifying going on here. We've got 66 leading away Jamski. We had a couple of public drivers, Jim Panson and Capra. Jim Panson, in fact, was driving an R8, and I have to be honest, if they end up randomly coming across this video, they were wonderful to drive against. Absolutely wonderful. One of the nicest public driving battles that I've had in quite a while. It was very clean, very fair. Just really, really lovely. Very good fun. There you are. There's Jim. So Jim, if you're watching this, feel free to join us more often, because it was wonderful to race with you. So yeah, so basically what happens at the end of this qualifying session, the auto director just kicks us out, and kicks out the auto director, or the auto director, sorry, kicked itself out, because the way that it works, it uses UPnP, which is part of the in-game language, so that also makes your crew chief work. And that's how it picks battles within the leaderboard. It sees the gaps and changes the camera and all that whatnot. But it doesn't know when to stop, and that's why it decided to leave the server. And there's Jim just having a little bit of fun in the sand. So I'm going to load up AMS2 now, and I will just I'll just talk you through a snippet about what happened in the race, and probably towards the final sections of it. So let's have some funky transition now. It's a lot louder in the game than it is on your director, so I'm gonna have to find out why that is. But yeah, you're watching my replay that I saved of race 2, so the quality is going to look a little bit better because the streaming PC that I have it's not a very good one. But she does the job well, bless her. Sadly, Mango Banjo is already fallen 9 seconds behind. So I guess if we go all the way back to the start and just see what happens, let's just do a bit of fast driving. Mango Banjo, there he is. So what happens here? There's Hilberry behind them, as well as Capra. Nicely done there. The AMGs looks like he's got a bit of a nice run. But yeah, effectively race 4 was very good, and it kind of planned out the way that I expected it was going to. Very much the case of... Oh, there's me going into the gravel. Or is that Jim? I think that's Jim. Oh, there's Con. That's what happened to Connor. I remember now. So, Jim, sadly, had a bit of an off. So they got down the inside of 66. Got the move really nicely done, but just couldn't quite. In fact, I think there might be a little bit of a touch there. Let's go to the chase cam. So what I'll do in this part, I'll just have a look at some of the highlights. So there goes Jim. Let's watch 66. There was a bit of a bump there. So in all fairness, 66 didn't really have anywhere to go. And that's what caused Jim to have an off and Connor to sadly spin around. Now, later on in the race, I know that Jim also has another moment. It has a good little tussle with myself here as they take... Well, do I manage to hold it around the outside? I think I do. I managed to hold it around the outside if I remember rightly. But Jamski in that Alpine, yes, the gap to 66 may only be 8 tenths, but my God, was Jamski quick in that Alpine. Absolutely rapid. And the Alpine and Monza is definitely the winning combo in GT4. I'm hoping for endurance. If we did an endurance with them, I'm hoping that the Alpine doesn't necessarily have the biggest tank of fuel. Otherwise, it's just going to run away. It's a little bit overpowered in that essence. But yes, it's a good wee battle here with Jim Panson. And yeah, it was all very honourable, which is how it should be, ladies and gentlemen. It's how it should be. Oh, and I think that's Jamski going off. So, Jamski, the race leader. Let's have a little look. Anything? No, the rear end just goes. Just loses the rear end mid-corner. And that's Jamski falling all the way down the order. Now, what I might do on a separate night, I might dedicate a whole video to Jamski and call it why you should never give up. Because right now you can see that Jamski is 10 seconds behind 66. 11, maybe even 12 by the time that this lap is done. Let's see what happens next. But first let me show you sadly what happened to Jim, and I believe it was on this lap here. Into 7th gear. Hard on the brakes, nice and late. Getting the job done, really closing the gap up. A little bit of a bump there, that's okay. That's not a problem. Oh, perhaps it wasn't this lap then. Let's just fast forward. Oh, there was a moment there. That was the moment I was thinking then. So I was right. It's just the wrong corner. I believe the rear right clips the grass. There it is. There's the clip. Did you see it? There it was. And around Jim goes, and that's all it takes. The grass is really slippy on AMS2. Unlike iRacing, it doesn't cool down your tyres, it will just spin you out. But sadly, that was my battle with Jim Panson over. But I'm going to do a transition now, so bearing in mind we have 9.5 minutes left to go. Jamski is currently 9 seconds behind 66. And this was basically what race 4 was about. Okay, so we're going to fade to black. And we're now heading onto the final lap of the race. So within 8.5 minutes. Oh no, that was the final lap, sorry. So by the final lap, Jamski's final gap to 66 was about 3 seconds. Monumental drive, but we all know. What Anders, you were in P2? Well, what happened? Well, ladies and gentlemen, watch. Just watch the master at work, okay? I could do that all day. Yeah, sadly, I took that corner the same way I took that corner every single lap. But this time, for some reason, the car just went unbalanced. Just went unbalanced and off I went. But I did manage to get it back on, that's a little bit of an unsafe rejoin. I'll penalise myself. But to be fair, this man drove incredibly well. And hats off to Jamski. So we won't be able to see the final board, but effectively the final board did look like this. 66 did win that race. Jamski finished P2, and we kind of fathomed that if he didn't actually have the crash, he probably would have finished 10 seconds ahead easily. Anders finished P3, Capra finished P4, Hilbury P5, Jim in P6, and Connor DNFing once again because for some reason, I know the exact reason, because the pedal, like I mentioned in the previous race, his actual plate that holds his pedals down was lifting off the rig, so he couldn't really brake properly. So how does that make the leaderboards look, Andy? Well, let me tell you. So here are the standings in the GT4 Season 166, leading away with 130 point Jamski in P2 with 119, not too far behind, but if these two keep on finishing the way that they are, then 66 will take this championship and run. Jamski really does need to get a double-headed win on Wednesday night, or for 6 to at least finish third and lower. Anders moves into P3 with 104 points. Connor only 4 points behind with 100, so there's going to be a nice little battle between these two all the way to the end. Rabimus sadly didn't join us on Wednesday, nor did Fabrice due to hot weather, and Captain Deadly being in a completely different time zone, which is kind of why I mentioned what I mentioned earlier. It won't be racing in this championship any further, which is a shame, but totally understandable. So where is next? Next, as I mentioned earlier, is Spa and Kansai, aka Suzuka. Both of them are happening on the 20th of the 8th at 8:30 BST time. If you look on our website, the time will be relevant to you. So head over to PNSRL.EU and join up today. As you can see, we've currently only got 4 drivers signed up. So I hope you can join us. I hope you enjoyed this content. If you do, make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you did. It'd be really helpful. Again, remember, pop something in the comments about what's your favourite GT4 car, and maybe I'll try that, because the final round, if we take a look, it's at the Nordschleife. So if anyone puts in some, some cars in there that they quite like around the Nords, I might give it a go. So until then, ladies and gentlemen, look after yourselves. It's been an absolute pleasure as always. Sorry that I don't do this more often than I used to, but look after yourselves, and I will catch you in the next one. Good night. Goodbye.